Showing on Law Weekly today, some of the highlights of the 9th Annual Business Law Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law. Former President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Wole Olanipekun SAN, is our guest on our interview segment. We get his views on justice sector reforms and the much talked about outcome of the National Assembly leadership elections. All that and more on this episode of Law Weekly on Channels Television. Hello and welcome. I am Shola Shoyeli. Now let's begin with a report of some of the interesting discussions that went down at the annual conference of the Section on Business Law of the Nigerian Bar Association. The three-day event was a forum for regulators, lawyers, businessmen and women to dialogue on policies and regulations that shape economic growth. The 9th Annual Business Law Conference held in Lagos opened with a dinner on Sunday the 7th of June. Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo SAN declared the conference open, while the Ghanaian Minister for Trade and Industry, Dr. Ekpowu Spiogaba, gave the keynote speech, which dwelt on Ghana's strategy in achieving its 70th position on the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index. Nigeria is ranked at 170. The President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Augustine Alege SAN, in his welcome remarks, said the third item of the association's agenda is good governance, and commercial lawyers under the auspices of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law have come to realize that creating an enabling environment for citizens to carry out their businesses gainfully and for Nigeria to thrive economically and compare favorably with its peers in the Committee of Nations is one major aspect to achieving good governance. It is on the back of this understanding that the section on business law constantly engages technocrats within and outside government who make the policies, laws and regulations that affect the Nigerian business environment. The chairman of the section on business law, Mr. Asue Godalo, believes that the theme of the conference, regulators as catalysts for economic growth, is particularly auspicious at a time like now, when the dynamics of the international economic order make it imperative for the country to diversify its economy. In the same vein, the chairman of the conference planning committee, Mr. Ayuli Jemide, says the first objective of the conference is to start a conversation with the key regulators in the business startup points, with the aim to develop a mutual synergy between them and the section on business law over the next few months. It's this conversation that drew this rich crowd of lawyers, regulators and business executives to this hall the following day, Monday the 8th of June. The agenda for the first session was improving Nigeria's ease of doing business. It was chaired by the former chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service of Nigeria, Ifweku Omoigui Okaru. The speakers and panelists were carefully selected, and one after the other they shared their thoughts on the issues.
Retail trade marketing in local markets should remain the preserve of Ghanaian citizenry.
The Chief Executive Officer of Ghana's Investment Promotion Center, Mawena Treba, easily shared more of the Ghanaian experience on its ease of doing business. The Nigerian Corporate Affairs Commission is critical to any business startup, and it came under criticism from the participants here, especially as regards the difficulty of accessing information from the Commission online and the activities of middlemen.
This is the relevant agency here today in this gathering.
The Registrar General, Mr. Bello Mahmood, who was one of the speakers, addressed the issues raised.
Please don't patronize middlemen in Abuja. What we have is in place for you is for you to start your transaction in Lagos and business here. But some lawyers, unfortunately, some of my colleagues, they won't charge their clients for going to Abuja. They will tell them that I'm going to Abuja, so we have to pay me for my ticket, pay me for my money and so on, and rely on touts, not even lawyers in Abuja do this things for them. Please do this thing in our offices here. Some lawyers, they don't want to go into the system. They want to work to CSA office. Please go to the system. It's easier and friendly. You can use it at any time.
and then the issue of taxes.
Some of the fundamental things in any country on ratcheting yourself up on the competitiveness index is the ecosystem of the national economy. And fundamental, of course, in Nigeria, if you ask anybody of what are your priorities in ease of doing business, you would list power, security, etc., etc. Those are given. We need to work on those as expeditiously as possible. The other aspect that is affecting me directly is the case of multiple, for lack of a better word, taxation or levies. It comes in different guises. One which is quite interesting to CSCS and Nigerian Stock Exchange in particular is the recent pronouncement by the Minister of Finance that we have to cede a percentage of our transaction fee. And I don't know which legislation one is looking at in terms of levying as a tax that's only specifically targeted to one or two companies in the whole country.
What I've observed is there seems to be some regulatory deficit in all sectors of the economy, in the sense that regulators are not sometimes taken seriously. Is it the communication? Is it the banking, insurance? Whoever you go into this aspect, you see a lot of infringements, So we have to get focused. As to taxation, for example, and he has mentioned it, the double taxation, it's sometimes institutionalized. We work with the ports, we protect the interests of shippers, and suddenly the Lagos State government, 2 or 3 years ago, introduced what they called wharf landing fees. Now, wharf landing fees, as far as we're concerned, has already been paid by the shipper.
I believe that the context of the national policy is being in use in everything that we're doing. Right now, there could have been a number of taxes that would have come up, but FRS stood up and said, no, this is not consistent with the provisions of the national tax policy. Now, a lot of issues could have come up from the states. I would say, no, this is not consistent with the provision of the national tax policy. As much as possible, we try to make sure that whatever policy that comes out is in line with the national tax policy.
More and more regulation is becoming irrelevant because technology has overtaken. I think that regulators must now sit back and attempt to understand where technology is going and allow markets to drive themselves and only intervene where there's a failure or there is the possibility of a failure.
The National Judicial Council, NJC, last week Wednesday said it had invited 3 High Court judges to explain why disciplinary action should not be taken against them for their low performance. The NJC, however, did not mention the names of the affected judges. The council said the judges were summoned following the report of its Committee on Performance Evaluation of Judicial Officers of Superior Courts of Record in the Federation. A statement by the Acting Director, Information Unit of the NJC, Mr. Soji Oye, on Wednesday said the 3 judges were from 2 states. A statement also failed to disclose the states of the judges and the criteria for the evaluation of the judges' performance. Mr. Oye said in the statement that the NJC took the decision to summon the affected judges at its 73rd meeting. In accordance with the revised 2014 guidelines and procedural rules on appointment of judicial officers, the council said it rejected the appointment of 2 candidates who, after being interviewed, were found to be unsuitable owing to their poor knowledge of basic law. And now to the court. A federal high court in Lagos last week Thursday renewed an earlier order restraining the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) from implementing the new electricity tariff billed to be effective from June 1, 2015. Justice Mohammed Idris had, in a ruling on an ex parte application filed by a Lagos lawyer, Toluwani Adebiyi, restrained the NERC and the electricity distribution companies from effecting any increment in electricity tariff pending the hearing and determination of the suit. Mr. Adebi in the suit is seeking an order restraining the NERC from implementing any upward review of electricity tariff without a meaningful and significant improvement in power supply, at least for 18 hours in a day in most communities in Nigeria. Staying in the Federal High Court, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) last week Wednesday arraigned 14 foreigners alleged to be involved in illegal oil bunkering before Justice Ibrahim Buba on a 4-count charge. The suspects include 3 Russians, 3 Ukrainians, 8 Filipinos and 1 Georgian. The Nigerian Navy ship Beecroft intercepted MT Anuket during a routine patrol within Nigerian waters on March 8, 2015 on suspicion of illegal oil dealing before handing over the vessel and its crew to the EFCC. And in neighboring Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, Justice Nathaniel Ayo Emmanuel of the Federal High Court last week Tuesday adjourned till June 15 the ruling on the various bail applications filed for some officials of the Central Bank of Nigeria and other banks involved in the 8 billion naira mutilated currency fraud. At the inception of the bail application, Justice Ayo Emmanuel called on all the counsel for the accused persons to formalize their bail applications. After hearing arguments from EFCC's lead counsel Rotimi Jacobs, who opposed the bail applications, Justice Emmanuel ruled that the accused persons be remanded in prison custody until the ruling is given. And we round off in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, where Justice Gabriel Kolawole of the Federal High Court has fixed June the 25 for hearing in the extradition application instituted by the federal government against the senator representing Ogun East in the National Assembly, Buruji Kashamu. The extradition application was signed on the 28th of May by the immediate past Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Mohammed Adoke. The application was predicated on a request by the Embassy of the United States of America seeking the Nigerian government to surrender Kashamu to face 1 count of drug-related charge before the United States District Court for the Northern Illinois Eastern Division. The penalty for the offense on conviction under the law, according to the charge, is an imprisonment of not more than 10 years or a fine of up to $10 million in the case of an individual or both.